Hello friends, this is Dr. Amarjit Kaur. I am professor at Gurugram University in the Department of Management. I teach accounting, financial management and business communication. I have authored about 56 research papers and 9 books and have taught at 2 US universities. One is Valparaiso University and another is North Dakota State University. It's my privilege that I am here this day on 3rd of January with you to talk on corporate communication strategies, which we are discussing in 2 parts. The first part we have already talked about, where we discussed what corporate communication strategy is, what are the elements of corporate communication strategies, how do we design a corporate communication strategies, and what are essentials of corporate communication strategy. In this half, we are going to talk about that what is the corporate communication strategy when negotiations are involved. So, in fact, we can call it as negotiation communication strategy. And then another topic we are going to discuss is leadership communication strategy. So, how a leader will be communicating in different situations. So, we are going to discuss that as well. So, to begin with, we are going to talk about communication strategies for negotiations. So, let's understand what negotiations are. So, negotiation, as the word suggests, is a process in which 2 or more parties are approaching each other and they're trying to create some agreeable contractual decision. They're trying to reach out to a decision which is mutually acceptable. So that's what the negotiation are. Now, this negotiation could be simply when we reach out to a company in telecommunication sector with our complaint about our monthly bill, and we are trying to negotiate the payable amount. So here a client and a company. Another example could be that the negotiation is going between supplier and the company, the buyer. Another negotiation could be the tax authority and the company. Another negotiation could be an employee who is looking for promotion or otherwise wants to put up his papers and the company, or which means corporate, right? There could be different situations evolving business at many point of time during the year, and everywhere negotiations are involved. Okay, but this is a process where 2 or more than 2 parties could also be there. Let's say, for example, negotiations are there between labor union, between the employees who are not the part of the labor union, and the management. So here are 3 parties. So anything which is negotiated is basically going through a process and can be concluded only if there is some agreeable decision reached out after discussion or after compulsion, whichever way it could be. Now, this corporate communication strategy for negotiation, can be designed only if we understand what is the nature of the negotiation, how negotiation are taken or are processed. In fact, first of all, there are 2 or more parties involved in any negotiation, and there's always a conflict of interest between the parties, right? I want X part of the share, or X part of the revenue, X part of the product or the profits, whereas the other party wants Y part, demanding more than what you want or you can give or you are ready to give. So there's a conflict of interest. As a customer, I want my 80% bill to be waived off. As a company, they say they cannot because there's a fixed cost and only 30% will be waived off. So there's a conflict of interest. So whenever we are designing strategy for negotiation, we need to understand the basics of negotiation. So 2 or more parties are there. There's always some conflict of interest. And another point is both the parties are trying to reach to a better deal. They are negotiating to reach to a better deal for themselves, right? So this is their priority. So if you are trying to seek a major pie of the cake, another is also trying to do the same thing. Okay, and parties prefer to look for an agreement. Of course, even I know if I'm sitting across the table, I'm sitting on the table to discuss something, I'm wasting my time, my resources, my company's time and resources. I am interested in the agreement, of course, but I'm trying to make or capture the best of the deal or best possible share. That's it. But otherwise, I am interested for some kind of agreements. That's why I am negotiating. Okay, and the parties negotiate to give and take. I know as a party, as a business, that I have to give something and I will get something. So there's some give and take going to happen. So both the parties are aware of this fact of the negotiation. And also the parties are aware that successful negotiation that involves that how intangibles will be managed, how tangibles will be resolved. So tangible is basically the revenue, the profits, the sales, the area, the units, etc., etc. Intangibles could be who would be leading, who would be having decision making power, etc., etc. Right? So we know when we are negotiating, these are the realities. This is why, and these are what this is what we are negotiating for. Now, my strategy has to think before we design our strategy. All this, I cannot develop a strategy ignoring either of the point we discussed. I am designing my strategy to negotiate, keeping in mind that I need more share, or I know that I cannot go beyond this. This is my last limit or cut-off point. I can negotiate till this point. I will not give more than 13% of discount. So that is my cutoff or I cannot share more than 40% of the revenue in this partnership or in this MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. So what is happening? So I know my limits. I know the agenda of my negotiation strategy or communication. Okay. So in all these negotiation strategies, taking care of all the aspects we just discussed, can be grouped under two heads. One, the distributive negotiation strategy, and second is integrative negotiation strategy. So what is distributive negotiation strategy and what is integrative negotiation strategy? We are going to discuss this in detail now. So this distributive negotiation strategy, it emphasizes the significance of maximizing the gain for oneself, for the company, right? So we are targeting for individual gain and we want to minimize our losses. So here, so the fight is for the distribution of anything, power to profit to revenue to to anything, area to units to number of employees, budget, etc., etc. So here the significance is or lies in maximizing gains and minimizing losses. So when I have to develop my communication strategy for negotiation under this condition, I will think that what all points I need to communicate to make the other person understand that he is going to be benefited by my product, my idea, by my team, by my units, etc., etc. And that's why I am demanding the maximum share which is justifiable. So what is happening? I am communicating the justification of demanding maximize gains. Getting my point? Or minimum losses for me, for my company, for my unit, for my department. So this is basically your communication strategy for negotiation under this category, under this type or distributive negotiation strategy is basically leading to that justification, that message, because ultimately we are talking about the message. What should be the message in negotiation strategy? In distributive negotiation strategy, the communications will be about the justification of demanding an higher portion or higher part of the pie. So this strategy actually adopts a fixed pie approach, that so we view that resources are limited and I need this much part of the total cake of the pie, right? So I am looking for fixed pie, maximize or maximum pie of the maximum part of the pie. And in this particular style, when we have to communicate, we need to sound aggressive. So our approach has to be aggressive to claim that fixed pie which we are looking for, right? So here an aggressive approach with each party taking stand to win over the other. So what is happening? Even the other person doesn't want to give. It's not that you only. So both the parties are trying to acquire a fixed part or a more part of the share or the pie by convincing each other aggressively about what benefit the other person is getting out of the deal, out of the negotiation. So both the parties are aggressive and they want a fixed pie. They want to maximize the individual gains and minimize the losses. And that's what is distributive negotiation strategy. As I said, another type is integrative negotiation strategy. So in this, both the parties understand that they cannot survive without being benefited equally, or unless we both have gains, this agreement cannot last or cannot be initiated. If can be initiated, then cannot last for longer. So it's essential that both the parties involved in negotiation, they jointly gain or they gain equally. So there's a care for each other. So there's a concept of win-win orientation. So the discussion or the orientation of communication is win-win, that you are also benefited, I am also benefited. For example, when there are strikes by labor union because of some death, some casualty at the production site, and the management knows that yes, there was some fault on their end, and they have they are responsible for the loss of the life or loss of the resources or the asset or the gain. What will happen in such situation? The communication will be win-win orientation. So they are already ready to give up something. They want the labor union to win. They are ready to give because they know they want to save the legal action against them. They want to save that battle they need to otherwise have to face in the court of law, right? So here the orientation is not to win or to seek a fixed pie, rather to ensure that we do not go to, or this case is not dragged to court or to general public or to media, etc., etc. So the negotiation content, the message would be such where we are sounding that we really wish you that your demands are fulfilled. So it's a win-win orientation rather than win-loss approach. Because in the distributive strategy, there was win-loss. You are trying that you would like to win more, and the other to lose more. Yeah, so win-lose or win-loss approach in the distributive one. Whereas in this category, in the integrative negotiation strategy, we have win-win orientation, right? So the outcome expected under this negotiation is through the communication, of course, the consensus where both can prosper, both parties can prosper or have a satisfying outcome. That is how the prosperity comes in. So both the parties have satisfying or win-win situation. So that's integrative negotiation strategy. So as per the literature, Roger Fisher and William Ury, they distinguished between positional bargaining and principled negotiation when it comes to strategy, corporate communication strategy. So for negotiation, so principal negotiation is based on values. Company, for example, will never offer any bribe, no matter whatsoever the situation is. So no matter who asks for. So this is a principal negotiation, that we cannot give you a product with faulty XYZ thing, or we cannot or sell or develop our product or produce our product with inferior raw material, because other party may be asking to use inferior raw material and sell it at a lower price. But no, the other party is clear that they cannot do it, because their professional ethics, their moral, their value says, if we use an inferior product, this will have health hazards for the end customer. So it becomes a principal negotiation. See, this is the minimum content we want or will be there. Positional bargaining is, as per Roger, Fisher and William, positional bargaining is that we take position based on the requirement or the situation. So my strategy will be accordingly designed, that what is the stand I am taking, the positional stand or the principal stand. Now after this, I want to discuss about the another and the last aspect of communication strategy, corporate communication strategy, which is leadership communication strategy. Now who are leaders? We all know the people, the individuals who guide, encourage, direct, inspire, motivate others, right? So leaders are the people whose job is to encourage the action of others towards some purpose, towards some goal, right? Their job is to motivate those people who are not motivated enough or who are not working in the right direction. Their job is to, ability is to direct the people and show them a road path to achieve the goals, or just to inspire them if they are not, right? So leaders are the people who influence others to achieve goals primarily, and they may use power to control situation. They may improve the performance. They may obtain results and finally meet organization goal. So who are the people who are using power? Of course, the leaders. They are using power to control situation, to improve the performance of teams, to obtain results as desired, and to meet up the organizational goals. This is what the leaders are. These are the people who are leaders, right? Now, the leadership communication strategy demands, demands that the communication is designed in such a way where whenever the leader is moving up in the hierarchy, he or she need to be dealing with complex situation, right? So the communication which is there used by the leaders, it is basically becoming more and more complex as a leader is moving up in the hierarchy. So literature suggests, there are studies which claim that communication occupies about 70 to 90% of the time of a leader every day. This is the data available online in books and otherwise too. So it's very important, it's very significant number. Imagine if I'm spending 90% of my time at a workplace just to communicate. So how important this leadership communication is? How important is this for a leader to design a strategy to communicate effectively with all the stakeholders? Isn't it? Because I am spending my 70 to 90% being a leader, time on communication only. It's very interesting, it's very important, it's a significant number. So it is the controlled, focused transfer of desired information for a purpose. So leadership communication strategy basically looks into that what information, I want to communicate, what is the desired information, what is the purpose of that information to be shared, how much content, the controlled part, and this is a focused information, right? The information focuses on employees, focuses on only those employees who are coming late, on those employees who are doing very well, I'm applauding. So controlled, focused transfer of desired information for a purpose. I'm not communicating for the sake of communicating. I'm communicating because I have some purpose in hand as a leader. Okay, so it's very important that we understand that why a leader communicate to different stakeholders, and at different point of time the purpose would be different, the information shared or to be shared is different, control on the information is more or less, it's not same all the time, and how that information is transferred is also varying from situation to situation. Okay, so in the leadership communication strategy, there are three primary elements. What are those three elements? There's core communication, there's a managerial communication, there's a corporate communication. Now, core communication, as the name suggests, so what is the core communication? Core communication ensures that my business operations run effectively. This is basically communicating about the vision of the company, the mission of the company. So the broad message about the corporate, the core message about the policies, about the strategy. So it's basically core message, core communication actually evolving about the core values, the core functional areas, the core team, etc., etc. So that's the leadership communication. So generally, if you ever notice during the meetings, a leader will compliment team in general, and then he or she may specify a name in particular. So when we say I appreciate XYZ in particular, it means I am acknowledging his or her contribution more than the rest of the team members. So my core communication was, to encourage the best performer or to motivate others to reach to his or her level, right? So what is my core communication? So that my communication strategy, as a leader, should look into the fact. Managerial communication. So we have leaders who are managing things, they are directing. So their communication should be straight, should be non-complex, should not be complex, should not be multiple messages, should not be different at different occasions. There should be consistent message saying that production should be XYZ units every day. The employees should not leave before X time, should never come beyond this time. So this is managerial communication. We are trying to manage things, be it production, operation, be it anything you talk about, right? So this leadership communication strategy is this element of leadership strategy is talking about managerial functions, planning, coordination, motivation, staffing, etc., etc. The corporate communication is dealing with the external parties, be it stakeholders, government, employees as a broad level. So corporate communication is also the leadership strategy or leadership communication strategy element. So this element talks about many things, that how a corporate will respond when there is a failure in the delivery of the product or the service, or when there is agitation amongst the employees, there's an agitation amongst customer, there is a negative message coming from government, non-support coming from government. how will I communicate, how will I respond to that situation? It's my corporate communication, right? Last thing I want to talk is Barrett's leadership communication framework. So Barrett has prepared this framework. There are many elements or many factors in this framework. First of all, the corporate communication, the management is there, the core values are there. Then, what do I want to communicate to my teams? How the meetings will be designed and chaired and discussed, how the meetings will proceed, who all are listening. We need to ensure that we are listening. Who will be mentoring, how it will be done, cultural literacy, how we will literate our employees about the culture of the company, and emotional intelligence, employees relations, how to carry the change. So change communication, media relations, PR, etc., crisis communication, how we will all this affect my image, my reputation of a company, right? So there are so many factors, and this is a framework which suggests that these are the factors which affect the image or the reputation of the company. And this framework is very, very exhaustive in nature, talks about almost everything important. This framework developed by Barrett's. So I hope, friends, you are clear that what is leadership communication strategy, what types of leadership communication strategies are, or what are the core elements, the framework of Barrett, and the corporate communication strategy under negotiation situation. These are the two important aspects we have discussed regarding to with regard to corporate communication. So with this, I will like to stop here. Thank you very much for being with me.